you soon. Hello and welcome to Separated by Water, the podcast for fans primarily on this side of the Irish Sea, for teams in the other side of the Irish Sea. Although I'm told that our viewers are spreading further and wider, England, South Africa, to name but a couple. And we're fans. We're not pundits. We want to represent you. We want to hear what you have to say, particularly in this day and age when the true fans seem to have less and less of a voice and how football, the sport we love, is actually run. So what we'd love is if you could subscribe, like, comment, anything like that. We really, really do appreciate it. My name's Colin Campbell. I'm a season ticket holder at Tottenham Hotspur for my sins. And my colleague and co-host, Paul Galt, lifelong Nottingham Forest fan. Paul, how are you?
Did you need to say Man United there?
I know.
Man United. Yes, Nottingham Forest supporter. I'm wearing my Irish Hospice Foundation t-shirt tonight. Rosario and I are doing a walk, and I want to thank everybody for all their donations. And if anybody wants to donate, there's a wee link in the bio tonight. Yeah, what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about Forest manager situation. I was going to change the splash screen. It's about Sean Dyche. We're talking about Sean Dyche. He's not even there as the manager yet, or is he? Is what's happening in the background. To be honest, I'm a wee bit perplexed by the whole situation, Colin. But anyway, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We will talk about the Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, Ireland international results. Who's got a chance of making it to the World Cup? Briefly. And we'll talk about Forest, Chelsea, and Spurs Villa as well. So, what first, Colin? You go ahead. You lead the way, my friend.
But down to business. First of all, I was going to say that I very happily sponsored your walk. The only one I didn't realize you were coming back. That was the only thing. That was the only disappointment. However, okay, Paul, Nottingham Forest. At the end of last season, start of this season, you were on your metaphorical deck chair, sun shining, metaphorical cigar in hand, looking forward to the new season. I can relate to that. I have about 1,000 broken deck chairs and unfinished cigars in my metaphorical back garden. Having said all that, it hasn't gone according to plan. We'll come to Sean Dyche, but take us there first of all. How did we get here? What's happening about this?
Okay. Do you know, I'm going to go back, Colin. I'm going to go back a wee bit to... Do you remember the night we were in Derry and we were watching Nottingham Forest against Arsenal? And
yeah,
I know you're going to go.
Yeah.
And I heard you saying to the barman, I was all excited, and I heard you saying, "Did you ever see anybody else supported Nottingham Forest before?" We are not like if you take a London side, the Chelsea, not the Spurs, the West Ham, and all these different teams. We're not like them. We are a wee provincial town, whatever you want to call it, wee small town in England, and it's a completely different supporting system. It's a completely different thing where we've only one team in the town that we support. And it means everything to us. It means I feel as if I'm part of the community. And the reason I'm going there is whenever Steve Cooper came into the club, he immersed himself in the community. And he immersed himself in with the players and with the fans. Nuno done the same.
Okay.
He took part in everything in the community. He was mixing himself in with all the different charities and the within the clubs are connected with and more. And the owner has done the same. The owner has invested heavily in the community in the area, and he's like, now that said, I'm starting to wonder about this owner. I really am. However kind he's been, however fantastic he's been for the club, and he has been fantastic. But I'm starting to wonder what is going on. He brings in Ange, who's the absolute opposite of Steve Cooper and Nuno. He talks about himself in press conferences. He doesn't talk about the fans. He doesn't even bother to pretend to talk about the fans or talk about it's all about me. I do this, I do that. And And then we find ourselves now that he's been allowed another game. It looks as if he's going to still be there in Chelsea at the weekend. What happens? What happens if he wins the game in Chelsea? Are we all meant to go, hallelujah, let's keep Ange? It's not working. This has been, I don't want to get rid of a manager. I don't want to say this has been an absolute failure, but it has been. This has been a mistake. And I hope that if we're considering Sean Dyche to come in, and don't forget, Sean Dyche has connections with Nottinghamshire. He lives in the Nottinghamshire area. He had an apartment overlooking the ground. There's a high-rise right beside it, a lovely modern high-rise apartment building beside it, and he owned one of them, apparently. Ian Woan is his backroom staff, as is Steve Stone. They're both Nottinghamshire lads. They live in Ian Woan does anyway. So what would Sean Dyche bring? I think he'd bring a bit of what Nuno and what and Steve Cooper had, that they would bring that back instead of this man that stands in the middle of the pitch at the end of the game on his own. Probably haven't answered your question there, but that's a bit of how we feel.
Well,
the question
you've
where
answered,
are we going?
about three other. I can tell. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying you didn't beat around the bush. There's a lot of emotion here. How is the fan base split up on this? Would you know? I mean, do they feel like you, or is there a let's give him a chance, or what? I mean, it is early days.
I listened to a various podcasts linked with Nottingham Forest, and it seems to be, if you'd said to me a fortnight ago, or even just at the start of the international break, I would have said it was divided. I would have said it was very much divided. I'd done the with our wee Forest or Magic WhatsApp group. I'd done a sort of straw poll with that, and basically it was about 60-40, maybe close to 50-50 at the end up for someone that would stay, someone that would go. But the majority, I think, wanted him to be given his chance. But what the international break, what is it achieved by keeping them going? Like, if we're talking about it and the press are talking about it, the players must be hearing it. He must be hearing it. There must be some serious negativity about that dressing room. And I think he's lost some of the dressing room already, if not all of it. The last match, we talked about it, he came out onto the pitch and the players walked by him. There was no patting in the backs, there was no shaking hands, there was no hug. It was just very cold, very... I find him very austere sort of individual. He doesn't seem to have any true link with the players, and I think that it's a major mistake that they should have made the move. Now, are they making the move? Have they not made the move because the PSR is going to cost us money? Is it we can't make that jump? Is there a time frame that he's going to get less money if he's paid off or sacked? Is it going to be a case that he's Sean Dyche wasn't maybe number one choice and they're moving down the list? I don't know. But I'm surprised that the knee-jerk reactions of some of the things he does, I'm surprised he hasn't went with a knee-jerk or a semi-knee-jerk reaction and said, right, the international break was the obvious time to do this. The players will come back on Thursday or Friday, and they'll be back and he'll have a couple of days with them. The obvious time to do this would be now.
Sorry, when you're referring to knee-jerk reaction, you're talking about the owner? Sacking the manager?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, some people want them to be given a chance. I understand that. What would constitute a chance? It's obviously a time period, Christmas, the next break, or what?
No. I think this was the chance to move him on. Yeah. I don't think he's ticking the boxes, Colin. We play, in the history of me watching Nottingham Forest play, we don't play attacking football. We sit back and we play on the break. We play on the break. And that's historically been how we've won and succeeded in anything we've ever achieved. Ange doesn't play that. And I asked you the question. Sorry? Yeah.
Brian Clough, in a couple of famous matches against Liverpool in the was it European Cup at the time, McGovern and John stopped at the halfway line, to bring Liverpool onto them. So, counter-attack, if you want, however you want to call it, however it changed over the years, is based, it's a very sound approach, and I understand what you're saying. And I think it's difficult to get players bought into A and then come and tell them, now we want you to buy into B. Players will do they do what they're told with the level of commitment that brings it to life, And the problem for Ange is that the model last year was demonstrably working. Forest were winning big games. The wee blip at the end, but leave that aside, they were winning big games. They were in the frame. We're in the frame for the Champions League, not to stay up. Nuno's turnaround, I thought was remarkable. And that's why I know it's spilt milk, and I'm sorry. But I think the owner, if Nuno threw the toys out of the pram, as you said, the ownership, his job was to go and fix that and make it right. That's my opinion. And now you're in this mess.
And we're both agreed on that. But that's water under the bridge now.
I know.
I think the owner needs to forget about getting his ego stroked. He has to accept he's made a mistake here, and he has to move on. And I think that Sean Dyche is neither. I don't see him just as a firefighter or a gatekeeper trying to think. I think he has.
Okay.
He done okay with Everton. He done very well with Burnley. Got them into Europe.
Okay.
His stats. I know that you might have some stats for us in a minute, and I don't want to take up the whole podcast talking about this, but and with messages in from a Spurs guy, and I want to mention the messages. I think with the squad that he has, it possibly be the best squad that Dyche will ever have had at his and I think he might be able to do a lot with it. He plays good defensive football, and I think our players. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think they're players that need an arm put round them and encouraged rather than just going out there and being. Now there's a few new flamboyant players have arrived with us, and they're doing great. And they're starting to take shots at Betis. They were taking shots from outside the box, whereby we were all normally trying to walk it into the goal with Chris Wood and stuff like that there. And if a couple of them had pulled off, a couple of them would win, maybe it would have made the biggest difference. But they didn't win, and we're where we are now. We're the brink of relegation zone, and we've got this going on. But anyway, look, I don't want. And if he stays, if he wins on Saturday, and it's going to stay, I hope I'm proved wrong that he ends up going on and being the manager of all managers that we should have been. We're talking about. Remember, we nearly sacked him, but we didn't. We gave him a go. Like Alex Ferguson was one game away from it.
Yeah. Hired Kendall as well at Everton before
there's loads of them.
Created this great mid-80s Everton team. There are examples of that. I mean, we're talking about Mr. Dyche. If you were right, Mr. Dyche, we've been expecting you. Sean Dyche, 54 years old, born in 1977. God love him. He was a player of second division, third division status, but he famously played for Chesterfield in the semi-final of the FA Cup against Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough beat them in the end. His managerial career, he was doing the usual assistant stuff. He stepped up at Watford. He managed there for just under a year, but Watford, in their wisdom, as always, the section. Sean didn't fit the bill and he was sacked. He went to Burnley and he stayed there just over 10 years. 10 years. That's not bad. He won 2 promotions and their only European qualification was a 7th place since the late 50s or when Europe was invitational. He replaced Eddie Howe. I think he'd gone back to Bournemouth. They'd gone up and down, but they'd done very well. He'd lost players and replaced them. I think he lost Charlie. He got in Ings, and he scored a lot of goals too. So my point is he ultra defensive? I think he's a guy who understands that he's got to work with the rough clay he's given, so to speak. But he may, have more to him given the chance. And let me add personally, and I think, Paul, you agree, look, when we're talking about managers and Ange and Sean Dyche in this case and others, we have the greatest admiration for every manager out there. They're remarkable jobs, and we love them and admire them all. However, we're fans. It's a cutthroat business. It's a winning business, and judgments have to be made, And in Burnley's case, they sacked Sean I think it was 7 games before the end of the season in which they were relegated. And Mike Jackson, who took over, couldn't save them either. So that spell came to an end. He came into Everton in January 2023. He replaced Frank Lampard. Just mentioned some of these names. See who he's fought, after. His first match, and here's why I love him. First match as Everton manager was a 1-0 win over Arsenal. Good man. But it just didn't seem to. Now, Sean was dealing with turmoil at Everton. He had to steady the ship. Lots of things were going wrong, and he couldn't seem to get them far above the relegation. So they had points docked as well. So his last part was 1 win in 11, I think it was, and he hasn't returned until now. So what's that telling us? Well, it's telling us he's had a full career. He's had a long time in management. His stats are probably interesting, and I'll maybe refer back to them as a contrast, but 49 games as a Watford manager, 34.5% win rate. Burnley, 425 games, 35% win rate. Everton, 84 games, just over 30%. 34 point overall for, 600, a lot of games. Perceptions of him, you read in the press, or pundits will talk about, on the negative side, is he defensive? On the positive side, when we're saying, well, he's counter-attacking, but he has to be defensive so that the teams who are lesser teams are not overrun. I sympathise with that. Is he boring? I don't know. He gets the job done, and when he had good forwards, he wasn't boring when they were getting their promotions or making Europe.
There's a couple of things you've said there. He was 10 years with Burnley. He was 10 years with Burnley, and you don't spend 10 years at a club anymore unless you're a very agreeable person and a person that can be you can get along with him. He seems to be a very affable individual. I've seen him doing some of these press shows since he's been out of management. So I think he's very affable. I think he's ideal for the job, to come in and not just steady the ship, but take us forward again and get us moving again, get us playing again, get us as far as he can in Europe, and get us out of this bloody relegation area.
I think that he is affable, but I think it's slightly more important than that, perhaps, is that I think the gruff, the gruff exterior that some people say it has, behind that lies, I think, a very meticulous, detailed, careful mind. I think he likes detail. It's often referred to that his father is or was a management consultant. So he's been brought up in how to process, how to understand how things break down, how to put them back together again. And I think there's a lot of going on behind that. Some people would say gruff exterior. Unkindly, I think he has been sort of put in the same bracket as Big Sam, the kind of English, Well, I
would hate it. I would hate it if that was why he was being brought into Forest. I would hate it if he was being brought into Forest for a season just to stop the rot. I would hate it if he's been brought in on that basis, because I don't think it's where Forest need to be, bringing managers in temporarily to stop the rot. I don't.
Well, look, here's probably my conclusion on some of these points. The words would be are attached to Sean Dyche, and I admire the guy. I think he's a good guy. Would it be he steadies ships? He steadies a ship, and he'll get you up to the league, but he may not win the big ones, or might he? But probably if you look at this, here's a wee contrast or a wee comparison, perhaps. Dyche, in admittedly 554 games, had a win rate percentage of 34.41. Okay. Nuno, in his 73 games for Forest, was 38.36, 3 of a difference, not 4. And Ange, in his time at Tottenham, we all know about the Forest experience, perhaps surprisingly, his 2 seasons, 47%. However, that is a lower percentage win rate than either Conte or Pochettino. So put in that context is not just so wonderful, But almost the existential question for me that you kind of half answered there is to say, well, where are Forest wanting to go with this? Say they sack Ange and they say it's been a disaster and they go with Dyche. Is Dyche going to take them where they want to go, or where is it they want to go? Last season, it looked like you were wanting to be in the your owner wanting to be in the Champions League, or certainly in the Europa League, and everything was coming in hand over fist during the summer while Spurs were doing nothing. And it all looked so wonderful. So I think that the next manager shouldn't be keep us up. That should be, a given. The next manager is going to tell me where Forest think they're going over the next lot of years, So that
if I could create an analogy for you, Colin, in the summertime, it was like Nottingham Forest had as a person had got to buying the best car they could ever have in their life, and they were looking forward to driving it next year. And then the first time they take it out is a car crash. This season has been an absolute car crash for us. It's a disaster. It couldn't be any worse than what it is. And I mean that. It couldn't be any worse than what it is. We haven't won in Europe. We haven't won we've won once in the league, and the rest of it's all we're in, and it goes back. It goes back to when he was with Spurs. Is it 30? I don't know. Crazy amount of losses in a number of games, and it's not just with Forest. So it's time for him to go. I'm disappointed he hasn't gone, but if he wins on Saturday, then we'll just have to get behind him again. But I think we're in an absolute car crash situation, and I don't know how we're going to get out of it, other than he gives Ange the time to get him out of it. But then if he keeps on letting him go on the way he is, it'll be too late. We'll be dicing with relegation then, and looking at the
not what you want to happen. What do you predict will happen?
What do I predict will happen? We'll probably go. Chelsea will come to us at the weekend, and we'll get our asses spanked again, and or we'll have a lucky game and we'll win by a goal. And then the next thing, everybody's saying Ange is great and he'll stay for another 2 weeks or another 4 games, and that'll be enough in Europe to let us drop out of the qualification area. I think we have to get behind them. I don't want the fans to be shouting at them and be negative with them, because that reflects on the players. The players will start playing badly. So I want everybody to remain positive while he's there. But if he's going, for God's sake, just let him go, get him gone, and get Sean Dyche in, and let's get this season, rescue what we can from the season. That's what I want to happen. To rescue what we can from.
But is that what you predict will happen?
I predict he'll get the sack. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm here in 6 months' time with European Cup semi-finals ahead of us, saying I was so wrong, and Europa League Cup semi-finals saying I was so wrong, and he's fixed it all. Anyway, you can sense my frustration, and it runs through our fan base, and I'm sure it runs through our players as well. It's ridiculous.
Well,
it's a ridiculous story.
I'm sticking with my prediction, which was that he would be dismissed at the end of October.
And
everyone else who needs, who can say we've given this considerable time. We're giving it 2 international breaks. Obviously, they haven't done anything now because they would have done it, last Monday. We're back into the matches coming up, so they have to let the team prepare and the manager prepare. So, it's hard to call the Chelsea. Chelsea, to me, are starting to look like the team I feared they would look like. Hence, back in to win the league. I think there's just something about them that they're a winning machine. No matter who's in charge, they just seem to keep doing it. And through the chaos, they keep coming to win. It could go either way, but as I said, I've got to pick one. We'll maybe come to it later in the predictions, but I would move on to now if you want. I mean, all I'm saying is, I think for me, the questions, I have a lot of time for Sean Dyche as an outsider. All I'm saying is the nature of the next appointment for me will give you a very good idea as owners want to go and think they're going over the next few years.
Yeah, I agree. I hope so. Anyway, look, I just want to say we have load of messages in. 5 from
Okay.
Donna Cullen here. I'll just say Wagwan. I think, is that a London saying? Wagwan. Wagwan.
I don't know.
I googled it there. It
Hopefully it
says it's
means we're
some.
both.
Anyway, she says hello to both of us.
Hopefully it's
Let me
nice.
introduce myself.
Uh-huh.
She introduces herself there, and she used to be head of PR in the
It's
department
very
in
welcome.
Spurs. So very welcome. If you're still there, throw in the questions to us. Lads, if there's any Nottingham Forest supporters, please throw in the comments to us about what we should do about Sean Dyche, about Ange. Colin, Spurs, what's going on at Spurs?
Spurs,
You
quite
have,
good. Can I just say, when I asked about
yeah,
Nottingham Forest that night in the pub, there weren't too many people in at all that night. But I'm a trainer. I know that sounds right. The guy who keeps me alive when I'm lifting weights is a Nottingham Forest fan. He's in his mid early 30s, and a guy I play golf with is a Nottingham Forest fan. So there are, they are about. They do stalk me.
oh,
They
yeah.
do
Not,
stalk me.
not that, and there's so
They,
many, there's so many
they keep me
fan
honest.
groups. There's so many fan groups,
Yeah,
throughout Munster, Ireland, Northern Ireland,
yeah,
etc. as well. So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
enough
one
about
thing you
Nottingham
said
Forest.
earlier, just one last thing, by the way, when you mentioned about, Nottingham, I mean, there's Notts County there too. You may have an opinion about
Yeah, well,
your one
we
team
don't
city.
talk about them. We don't talk about them. We'll just leave them alone. They're all right.
Okay,
They're
okay.
yeah.
The
We
Magpies,
don't say
they're
much
also
about
the
them.
Magpies. Okay,
Yeah.
Spurs. Well, yes, great win against Leeds. I'm say great. A very, very good win against Leeds. I think we've already said Leeds will stay up. I think they have enough about them. We bit of were Tottenham's 2 goals slightly deflected. Yeah, but you've got to be there and make the shot to get it in. I thought Leeds did extremely well. We did well to beat a Leeds team like that. That's my point. Now, where do we go from here? Well, that's the big question. We've got Villa at home. I'm going over. So, Paul, we were talking about this just before we came on air. And what I'd said was this is like a 6-pointer, and you'd agreed. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that, I think it's like the second sphere, the second level of the premiership is probably what I'm talking about, whereby if we ungraciously accept that Liverpool, Arsenal, City and Chelsea maybe are making up the first tier, those teams who genuinely want to win the league and are set up to do it, and then those teams who wish to qualify for the Champions League, you probably have Tottenham, Man United, regardless of the position at the minute, Tottenham, Man United, Villa, Newcastle, certainly before. Forest, we in there. I'm not sure about Brighton or a couple of others. I didn't mention Newcastle. So, that's why it's a 6-pointer, because if we can keep Villa sort of down there a bit, that's a big thing for us. So it's a statement match on Sunday. And can we put a run together? Please God that we do. There's no reason why not. As far as I know, everyone, Van den Ven and Romero and the fullbacks are all back fit. Jetson, anyone probably could have had a good game for England, but still, yes, let's go. Is there momentum? For God's, I really hope so. So I'm looking forward to that, as always, with sort of a couple of fingers over my eyes just in case. But yeah,
Well, a couple of things to say to you.
Go for Spurs. Spurs to win. Spurs to win.
A couple of things to say to you there. First of all, Charlie just
Yeah.
texted in. He said he sent me a WhatsApp saying he was listening to discussion, enjoying the discussion. Second thing I'll say is the mystery of the year for me is Villa. I don't know what's wrong there. Can't work it out. I don't know that they lost that many players from last year. I know Ollie Watkins isn't in the form he was, but I can't understand what's going on there. I really can't. I can't see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a 6-pointer?
Yeah.
Yes, I do think it's a 6-pointer. I think that it's a team that you would start the season expecting if you get a point there, you'd be happy to take it. But in their current form, if you can get 3 points there, it will be like a 6-point for you. It'd be like an unexpected 3 points. So
yeah. I think
it
we
would
need
be.
it. We definitely need it. I think we'll get there. Villa, to me, I think a couple of things with Villa. Watched them last season play brilliantly against PSG at Villa Park. And PSG were outstanding. Every time Villa went up a notch, they came back. And this was not a PSG. PSG were never associated with having the stomach for the fight.
Yeah.
But I think last season's heroic run, ultimately failure, and then failure to qualify on the last punctured Villa.
Yeah.
I do. I think they found it very hard to build themselves up again. And I think it's coming out in frustration. Emre, they're in the Europa League, which to them now is a step down. The transfer market didn't go well with the financial rules. Their goalkeeper was acting the goat a bit. It was just all irritants. And I think, he's prickly at the minute. And it's not going well. The problem is, are they good enough to go on a run? Yes. And they went 1-0 down to Fulham and then got the victory. So I'm for granted here, but Spurs need to know what they're up against. And they need to say, these are matches we're going to win from now on, That's it for me.
Yeah.
But I think Villa have been punctured somewhat by what happened last year. Yeah, my opinion.
And instead of coming back to it, give me a wee prediction for the weekend.
For Spurs? Villa? Spurs.
Yeah.
Well, I got the last one right. So I'm going to go Spurs 2-1.
2-1. I hope
Spurs
you're
2-1.
Right.
I said Spurs 2-1 leads. You take 2, but I'm saying today. And probably a frantic last 10 minutes. As always.
Yeah, well, it always is. It certainly is for us. But and if you send through your videos, Colin, any Spurs supporters there, I'll put a vlog up for the match on Sunday evening as quick as Colin can get it to me. I'll have something prepared, and we'll pop it up. And so if you give us a wee halftime scenario, we build up to the game. The team is picked, and hopefully you'll be smiling at the end and letting us know how well it went for you. I'm going to do a quick summary of Forest and Chelsea. We've got the TV game. We both have TV games this weekend, which is good. We're 12:30 on Saturday. The good thing about it is if it's that bad, I'll get it out of the way and I can just go on with my Saturday. But I'm hoping that we can pull off a change of form and we can get a couple of goals. The thing is, I feel that if we start to score goals, we will score goals. I feel that if we can just break our duck, that striker who doesn't have the confidence. Our team in general is like that group that can't get the confidence to score together and break their duck and get a few goals ahead. But I think Chelsea are going to be very hard to break down. And my prediction is, and I would take it right now as a draw. I would take it in a blink. I would take it as a blink and a blink.
I have to say, I think Chelsea will score 3 and win. No, it'll be tighter than that. I think Chelsea's defence isn't all it could be. The fullback, for all that he gets forward, keeper worries me. Don't worry me actually. I mean, I'm not a Chelsea. If I were a Chelsea fan, it'd worry me. But I think there's a slight weakness there. But I think Forest will score. But I don't think they'll score more or as many as Chelsea. I think it could be a 3-1 or a 3-2 with a late Forest goal, to keep it out.
We're back to talking about Ange again, Colin. Igor Jesus, he started 2 games. He started 2 games and scored 2 goals in each of them games. And then he chooses not to start them. Why?
I don't know. I'm old school. You try always to play your best player. It's not as if they've got Real Madrid coming up on Wednesday night. And the biggest match Forest have is the next match. And that's, Saturday morning, Saturday 12:30. I would be playing my best team. And as often as I possibly could, I'd be playing my best team. But he must know better than
I would too. And I just hope he's somebody's a word in his ear and he plays the best team and we get off to a good start on Saturday. But I wouldn't hold out any hopes. I'm nervous about it already.
Sorry, just a couple of other games at the weekend. I think maybe just have a quick run over. They might signify things. Fulham at home to Arsenal. I think this is Arsenal now are top of the table and all of a sudden everyone's favourites to win the league. I think they drew at Fulham last year. So Fulham have had a mixed start. I think people think they've been doing better than they actually have. They're quite pretty. They're nice to watch. Blah blah blah. But they're beaten. I'm wondering, is this a match where Arsenal come out and say we're going to bulldoze this team, be top of the table and stay there, or do they flatter to deceive? I think it'll be interesting, but I think they'll beat Fulham.
Fulham, I think Arsenal have too much from them. Those that think
Yeah.
Arsenal are going to run away with it, I don't think there's any front runners at the minute that are running away with the league, and I certainly don't think that there's any.
No.
Um, you know, Liverpool have shown weaknesses. Man City aren't tearing up any trees, pulling up any trees. Arsenal have their weaknesses as well, and Man City, who knows what you're getting with Man City? You really just don't know
Yes.
what you're getting with them in any day.
Well,
Um,
and
Liverpool,
then
Man
one last
United.
game. Yeah.
It would be remiss of us not to comment on Radcliffe's statement earlier on in the week that they've decided to keep their manager in place for another 2
Yeah.
years. I
Great.
was offered. I find this bamboozling, but do you know what I find more bamboozling is the amount of Man United supporters that are going along with this. And
Well,
one very close to you was on the phone to me the other night and offered me all a range of bets that I've taken none of them yet. But how can they be happy with what his performance is? How can they be happy with what he is? And I tell you the one bet, and I'll offer it to any Man United player or any Man United supporter that listens to this. I will take the bet that he will not be there at the end of 2 years. He'll be gone long before the end of his contract, and I'll take any Man United supporter that bet, but they won't give me it. But
yeah.
I find it a very strange thing to do. But he did say the same thing about Ten Hag, that they were going to stick with him. They gave him another contract, and then he was gone, and he performed better than Amarin did.
Well, that's
So
ironic. I understand why
I
he's
think
done that. I do, and in a way, I applaud it. Now, it's not the immature me, thinking Amarin will keep United down in the bottom area for another 2 years. It's not about that. Well, here we're trying to be more objective. I can understand why Radcliffe's done it, because he wants to set yourselves and play for this man. If you think he was going in 2 weeks' time, he's not. He's going to be here, and he is going to set the trend, and he's going to impose his will on you, not you on him. So, go along with it or get out. And that's brave. Radcliffe, I'm hoping, has seen something we haven't. I can understand why the fans are fed up with managers coming and going. Let's give this guy a chance. Have they seen much to get them excited? I haven't.
That's the bit I don't get.
United managed to be worse than Spurs in that Europa League last year, which is a hell of an achievement. So I don't know what I've seen, but what I do believe, and I talk about this side of the thing, the psychological side, I think that Radcliffe wants to steady the ship and say, look, calm your jets. This man's staying. So put all that other nonsense out of your heads and settle down and play to the players.
Yeah.
It's the message going out. Also to the fans. He's here. And I can see what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, on that, I think that Liverpool will have enough to beat them, but I don't think it'll be a runaway success. I think it'll be a tight win, a 1-goal win by some balance against Man United, a 2-1 or 3-2 or something like that. That's how I see that one going. But if we could always predict the scores, it could be a draw. Actually, it could be a draw.
I go 1 each.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1 Liverpool. I think that they've lost a wee bit in Salah. I don't see Salah doing the same. We need to chat to our Liverpool providers and and maybe get our Man United guys back on again, and we'll do that. I'm going to talk about international football for a short minute or two, Colin. I know that we always said we wouldn't talk about Scottish football because of the sectarian side to Rangers, Celtic, and all that there, and I'm not going to. Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, I guess there's a bit of that goes on with that as well. But anyway, I don't watch football for any of that nonsense. I watch football for the country, and I support both teams. And I want them to both do well. Sadly, I don't think Ireland are going to qualify. I don't think they would need to have a hell of a game against Armenia and hope that others go against them. My grandson was at the Northern Ireland match last night. He's there. You can see him there on the screen. He was at the Northern Ireland match last night, and they were very unlucky against Germany. I think that it would be great. I remember the year, you'll be able to give me the year, Billy Bingham's Northern Ireland team qualified for the World Cup. What year was that?
It was 1982 and 1986. They
Yeah,
qualified
that
both
was
occasions.
consecutive World Cups. That's right. And
Yeah,
and
in
you know,
Spain and
I
Mexico.
hope for people that Noel, I'm always trying to get him to support Nottingham Forest, and I've even went as far as to try and bribe him with the Nottingham Forest jersey, and he just goes, "No, I want to support Coleraine and Northern Ireland." That's what he does, and he was
Fair
up at
enough.
the match last night, as I said, and
Right.
that's fair enough, and it's commendable, and I stick to it. You just keep supporting your teams and go and watch them and support them in every way you
Right.
can.
Yeah.
And
Looking forward
maybe,
to
just
it.
maybe, Noel, just maybe, you're going to see. Uh, Northern Ireland qualifying for the World Cup. I think if they get 4 points from the next few games, if they get another 4 points, I think they'll get second place. England will probably qualify tonight against Latvia. And I think Scotland are going okay as well, aren't they? Can they qualify as it minute Colin?
Yeah, I think they can. Yeah, they seem to be in the driver's seat as these things go. There's still some points to be played for, but at the state of play at the minute, you think you're about right. Northern Ireland are probably better placed. Wales can do it. They can all do it, but it's what it would take for each of them to do it, and probably it takes a bit less to go in. Northern Ireland's probably more in their hands. And when we go back to the two managers being appointed, one of the very earliest podcasts we did it with and the Irish manager, and I said one thing O'Neill might get more than his counterpart is time. And he probably has the space because what he's done is go back to the drawing board and bring back a very young, very fresh team who play
Without a
fearlessly.
doubt, they're a young squad, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they don't seem to be carrying the weight of expectation in the way that the
No.
Republic's team has constantly carried the weight of expectation since probably the great days of Jack and even and I think that can be a problem. It can weigh them down. Republic were very unfortunate. Obviously, a very late goal from Portugal the other night, but they've been architects of their own downfall too. When teams of the status of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, Wales, and Scotland lose games or draw games, they're expected to win or to draw. It's always putting them in trouble because they're always going, well, if we go to Germany or if we go to Portugal, and get a result. And the easy ones, the Luxembourgs, the Armenians, so on, it's the Slovakias, for Northern Ireland, the pain and the truth about the whole thing was that Slovakia beat Germany, which of course we wanted Germany to steamroller everyone, and then we would come behind. But you maybe hear my dog doesn't like that.
You have a German in the background there.
Yeah, but it's another. Hopefully, I think there's one more weekend of this. And then we'll get back to the constant club teams, which are really, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. I'll just show, Charlie sent me a message there, and it's right. And, why don't we talk about the international matches? Because, as Charlie says, sectarianism is no place in football, absolutely no place. I don't care about the colour of creed. I only want to see the football fans supporting and enjoying. Here.
Problem is, once you start talking about this, it's very hard to stop it because, people, I just, for me, people, we set a brief for our podcast, and that is, I think, a very gracious and people across Ireland, Northern Ireland, whatever you want to call it, Republic of Ireland, 32 counties, 626. The unifying factor is that we're all fans of teams in England, primarily the Premiership, but not exclusively. So it means that we have a broad enough mind to be able to do that. Many hundreds of thousands, millions of people on this island do passionately supporting these teams. I think that's a wonderful thing. And that's who kind of we're speaking for,
yeah, exactly.
That brief is, to me, clear and sacrosanct,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyway, I enjoyed that call. I got a lot off my chest. I wish you luck for the weekend against Villa. Anybody that's travelling over to the games, travel safely.
I'll be up at I think I've got to get up about 1:30 on Sunday morning to get up, get cleaned up, showered, so I'm getting the car, go down to Belfast. I'm actually going to Hollywood to pick up my travelling companion, my buddy, and then down to the airport, and then we'll see what happens. But it's an early kickoff, so we'll probably then get somewhere to watch the Liverpool United game and have a few scoops. See how we'll go. Hopefully, happily. Right.
Well, before you get
Thank
them
you.
scoops, then you please send me a few wee videos, and I'll put something together. So any Spurs supporters that's listening with us, if you keep an eye on the channel, we'll get that up. Please like and share it. And thanks very much once again. Thank you for everybody who's donated to the Irish Hospice Foundation. We are very grateful. The legs are walked off me, but we're getting there. We're on target. We're actually ahead of target, so everyone's going well. And thank you for your kind donation, Colin and Charlie, who's listening to us. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, guys, that sums it up. We'll chat to you next week. Hopefully, this time next week, I'll either be saying, keep Ange, he's doing a great job. We've won 3-0, or it'll be another week of doom and gloom for me. I don't know what's ahead of me. The life of a Nottingham Forest supporter. But you were here this time last year, Colin, when we were up in the top 6 for the most of the season. So you know what it's like. You know what it's like. And furthermore, you know what it's like at the hands of Ange Postecoglou as well, you know. Yeah, so wait to see.
Thanks.
Anyway, excellent. Everyone. Thanks very much, guys. Everybody stay safe. Cheers. Thank you very much for all the comments. Bye-bye. Please like and share, and keep in touch with us. Stay safe, you Reds.